Welcome to Bottle Rocket Company. Let's go! Hi everybody, it's me, your host, who's a ghost. Me. Welcome back to another episode of the Bottle Rocket Company podcast. I've tried to record this intro multiple times. It hasn't gone well. I've been quite anxious this morning. I've called multiple of my closest loved ones and apologized. And then they've been like, what are you saying sorry for? And then I've been like, that is something that I don't know the answer to. So I guess I should just hang up the phone. And then they all go, no worries either way, because you haven't done anything wrong. This has been a 30-second phone call, no worries, across the board. And they do literally say no worries. All of my closest friends are surfers. So they all will say, no worries, dude. Just catch up with us in the water and then come surf, and it's chill. So that's a relief. But actually, though, I keep apologizing and I don't know why. Anyone else struggle with that? Anyone else not struggle with that and maybe even like that about themselves? That would be fun to talk about. Hi, what's up? Today's episode is awesome. Dan Wilson joins us on the Bottle Rocket Butt podcast, which is what I'm going to change the name of this to. Dan is an incredible dude. I really loved our conversation. He would probably laugh if I said this, but I was nervous for this one because I think Dan is such a special guy that he's the kind of person that you tell stories about to other people that have yet to meet Dan, and you want to seem close to him and to know him well because he's such a cool guy, and we really haven't gotten to spend that much time together. We've only had a couple conversations, but I've been so inspired by him as a person, that I definitely have told people that were have this really we go way back, when in reality it's just me being obsessed with him because he's fucking awesome, and him being no worries, man. Because he's a surfer. No worries. That's crazy. I don't think he's actually a surfer. But, yeah, Dan is a great individual. Incredible songwriter. Dan is a member of the band Semisonic. He's a very renowned, successful songwriter for many other artists, myself included. Dan helped me write the song Deep Sea Diver, off of Sunflower. We spent a day hanging at his place in LA, talking about the Replacements and life and all the little things in between. We get very genuine in this episode. We get silly. I think we're silly before we're genuine. There's a whole part where we talk about the Grateful Dead tapestries, which is silly. There's a part too where I try to act cool when he says that he knows Chris Stapleton. I literally say, oh, Nashville guy. So if you want to punch me in the face, feel free to. Next time you see me, I deserve it. Yeah, hope you guys enjoy this one. Learned a lot from Dan. Hope you do too. Let's fire it up. I think that's what I've been saying at the end of these. Yeah, let's fire it up. All right.
Being recorded, it doesn't want me to be recorded against my will or unbeknownst to me.
Yeah, a lot of people are not as thoughtful as this
as
app.
Zoom. The Zoom app.
Yeah, it literally communicates better than a lot of people that were around the really formative years of my life. It's really cool.
Yeah. I find that it's best to just be ready to be recorded at all moments by anybody and not even ask consent. But maybe that's the next phase is a return of consent in recording. Who knows?
Yeah, I think that's what progress looks like in today's world. But I agree. I think you should be ready I mean, I guess that's a strange point to be at as people, but yeah, I guess whatever you say, you should assume is being heard, right? With like the targeted ad stuff online and everything.
I want to know more about the targeted ad thing, because literally the targeted ad is so smart that if I'm talking with an engineer about an obscure piece of musical gear,
yeah,
that weird and obscure piece of hardware will just like start cropping up in my suggestions and stuff. It's like, I guess I would have thought that certain things were so obscure that the computer wouldn't know about them, but that's foolish. I'm sure it's like very naive.
Yeah, you would hope that would be the case, but no, they've got it.
No. Anything you can think of is just boringly obvious to the computer.
Yeah,
like,
no, yeah, I get like for like a couple months, every summer I go through this phase where I like am hitting all my favorite like live Grateful Dead records, and I can't tell you how many like Tapestry ads I get now, like Grateful Dead Tapestry ads.
Nice.
Yeah, it's amazing. I have yet to bite, but there's been some really good deals, so I'm sure it's a matter of time.
Maybe certain topics are more ripe for selling stuff.
What do you mean?
I mean, Grateful Dead love doesn't just immediately maybe lead to a whole bunch of things that could be part of commerce. Because I feel like if the only thing they can come up with is try to sell you a tapestry, yeah, it means that the Dead are like the machine for commerce that some might wish they would be.
Wow. Yeah.
I'd love to get an appropriate tapestry, but
yeah, I agree. Yeah. We should get someone in to discuss this further, because I can't get past the idea that they know. I'm not on like a higher level of thinking about it yet. I can't break down what the actual motivation is. I become like someone who like lives out in the woods and is scared of people knowing things about them when it happens.
Right. I mean, I want the computer, like if I'm gossiping with a friend about a Les Paul, that I am sort of that I recently played and was really amazing and I loved it so much. I want the phone to find a really good bargain for me. Like, I want the phone to be like a homie who like says, Dan, whoa, there's this guy selling the exact guitar for like a complete steal.
Yeah, totally.
In the Inland Empire, and you need, and that everything comes up just like, brutally, perfectly priced, and there's no bro factor.
Yeah, no, I think it starts with, and I'm glad we're opening this box. I think it starts with us being kinder to this hidden thing. I think we need to check in with it more. I think we need to ask tough questions, make it feel comfortable to share.
You are blaming the victim.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't need to become some sort of codependent buddy of my phone.
Yeah.
That's wrong.
No, I'm okay. I want mine to get passive with me. I want to ask it for a deal, and I want it to go like, I don't know. What do you think?
It's up to you, Bo.
I don't know. I'm really busy.
I'm busy.
I can't talk right now.
Yeah. Disappointed in you. You didn't buy that other thing.
Yeah.
You never bought I found you all those tapestries.
And you come crawling back now.
You didn't care.
Yeah.
Now.
When you want like a phone charger for your car, I'm gonna present myself again.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not gonna try to get in the mind of this device. Well, how was your day?
My day was, I had a very nice day. I had a chat early in the day with Chris Stapleton, a friend of mine.
Yeah, Nashville, right?
Yeah, we talked about music on a kind of under the auspices of ASCAP. We were given a list of topics, and we just chatted for, a little while. And we we went through the list of topics, but in between our brief treatment of the topics was a lot of digression and shooting the shit.
Yeah.
Which Chris pointed out was exactly what our writing sessions are like.
Oh, no way. Yeah, maybe that's a good thing.
Brief moments of the song at hand,
right?
The creative endeavor at hand, and then long stretches of what's the word? Unchaperoned
bullshit. Yeah, it's so funny to me how often I get to go into sessions and leave having an experience like that, and not knowing how badly I needed to just do that with someone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's obviously awesome to leave with the song for everybody, but it's also really so I feel like it presents itself when you least expect it to be important, to just have a conversation, whether it's about music or not. You know what I mean?
Right. I was reminded. I've read a bunch of things about Carole King because I was reminded about her and Jerry Goffin's experience when they worked at I think it was the Brill Building in New York for Don Kirshner.
Right.
Don Kirshner would he had all these different writers like Neil Sedaka and all these people that had different writing rooms in this building, and Don Kirshner, who had the publishing company, would burst his head in the door and say, "Are you done with that song? We need a new whatever it was."
Right.
Someone else had some hit, and he would burst in and say "Where are you at that hit? We need that hit that sounds just like the Chiffons, or whatever." And then he'd burst back out threatening to fire them. And I told this story to Chris, and he said, "I don't think I could work under those conditions."
Very unideal. Yeah. I do a bit like that with my girlfriend, where every time I leave a room, if there's a guitar in there on my way out, I go, and by the way, it only takes 3 chords to write a good song. And I throw the guitar, 30 minutes. I want to hit.
Right. I'll be back.
Yeah. Not ideal. Like the trail of papers flying out behind you as you run out.
Yeah. I like trail of dust and violence.
Yeah. Briefcase, falling apart. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, no, I don't think I've ever been in a situation that extreme, but anything close to that has never been ideal to me. Right. I have been revisiting writing alone a lot in the past few months, and wow, it's just crazy how you just need what you need when you need it when it comes to writing. I've kind of stopped trying to figure out what works best, because I've seen it change so frequently. Have you experienced that in a career as a songwriter?
I know what you mean. I'm recently also in a phase of just writing alone, and that has lasted maybe a couple of months, and usually every year I probably go through a 3-month stretch or a 2-month stretch where I'm doing a lot of writing on my own without any collaborators. And one of the things about that I notice, and my family notices, is that during those periods, I am always on. I'm always on and literally I'm less kind of cognitively available to the people around, because I'm always running alternate ideas in my mind, or I'm always kind of I'm always standing up from the table and rushing out.
Yeah. Oh my Lord. Yeah.
Of a guitar. And it's interesting to me, because that kind of uncorralled impulse is you can get used to not having it if you co-write a lot, because you get used to like, well, when I'm getting together with everybody at 1, it's all the creativity is going to burst onto the scene, and then we're going to go nuts until 7, which is pretty true to me.
Sure.
But it's still a different vibe compared to that. For me, those stretches where I'm doing it just on my own, and I'm sort of become a crazy person for that period.
Wow, man. Absolutely. Yeah. It's so strange. It's such a, it requires so much balance. I feel like, and I relate so much. I have like been more emotional in the past month, like outwardly to the people, in close proximity to me than I have in so long. And I think I don't know which one caused the other, but it's, I don't think it's coincidental that it's at a time that I'm constantly kind of like, I'm allowing myself to kind of like use my own voice to write again. It's so strange, how it's so inherently in you. I'm assuming most people start writing alone, I'm guessing. And it's just so strange how that's there inside of you. And it waxes and wanes. And when it's there, it's just so obvious that it's such a part of you, that it blows my mind to think of it going away. But I can already, even in the moment of writing alone a lot and spending more time alone, just in general writing, it's really strange to me to be able to kind of look out the window and like see how I could get back to a point where I wasn't doing this all the time, and not want to do that immediately, but realize it's probably necessary at some point. You know what I mean? To write with other people. Like, do you find yourself stopping those periods of writing alone, because you crave an opportunity to write with other people again? Or do you kind of just see that kind of internal period through until it's over?
Wow. I think what happens is, no, I like that question. I think what happens is it's not like it plays out. It's like I go through the phase of like writing on my own and having a lot of ideas that I want to just chase down myself.
Yeah.
And then some circumstance kind of, almost like a wave of chances to collaborate with people I dig or people I know starts to come up, or my manager, Jim, or my publisher is kind of start to get, hot, I don't know, a bunch of ideas that they might have, or, suggestions they might have. Yeah. And I find myself kind of gravitating to other ideas, maybe because my mind is restless for, a change of season, sure. I guess. But I kind of got into music instead of visual art because I like jamming.
Yeah.
And being, during my time as a painter, I never really figured out a way to jam with people as a painter. Like I never really figured out a way. I think if I was a filmmaker, it's a very social kind of, to be the author of the film, I suppose. But for me, like I never could figure out a way for painting to be, I was always lonely.
Yeah.
And I always had bands going on at the same time. And I was kind of A-Bing the thing, in my natural course of my life. And I just kind of slowly became somebody who I just became more of a musician because I wanted to jam with people.
Totally.
And so when I figured out how to write a song by jamming with people, it was not a compromise to my ideals. It was more like it was integrated with my preferences in life.
Totally.
I want to jam with folks and be with them and laugh and goof around and like make witticisms and try to make them laugh and and then have some art come,
Totally, man.
as a byproduct. So
Wow.
But I still, somehow the thing of like going off on your own and like being a wild person for a while it just helps. It's inconvenient for the life, but it's good for the art.
Absolutely. Wow. Yeah, that's crazy to hear you say that. That's been such a prominent thought, like between my friends and I this summer. Is time has just started to fly as things have picked back up, and life is just resuming the most regular pace that it has in a long time, and all of our creative endeavor, you know, like just the variety of things that all my beautiful friends like dive into, everything has been affected by that. And I think we've all struggled. We were just talking about kind of struggling with the balance of cherishing time together, and seeing the effect that takes on the art, that sometimes can be perceived as a negative effect, and how not precious you can be about something when you're with a group of people. And it's just been really interesting to find myself so often. I feel like I have a voice a lot of times in my head that's telling me to be precious and telling me to be internal and telling me to be really delicate with the art that I make. And then I'm in a group of people and I'm like, okay, I could totally dip from all of us watching this Bo Burnham special right now and try to go, you know, like write a riff or something. But then I found myself being like, well, I don't really want to do that. You know what I mean? I don't think I'm that brooding that I want to go do that. But then, you know, the 15 minutes you have before you go to bed that night after you've all hung out and you are just like noodling around, then something beautiful comes out of that. And I've just like, I've seen so much benefit in just telling myself lately to be in those moments so that it matters when I do pick up the guitar. And
I'm totally, the only thing I would, well, not really add or subtract, but like, I feel like we're in a we're in a unique time because it's hard to tell whether life has resumed its normal frenetic jam-packed pace, or whether we've reemerged from lockdown into like an unprecedented franticness, you know.
Maybe that one.
Possibly that, which is weird. It's super weird to think. And a couple months ago, like in the spring, no, in the winter, I was telling everybody how I could see it coming down the pike, a kind of frenetic re-engagement and not busyness for busyness' sake, but more like when things picked up again, they were going to pick up in a way that was wild. And so I was like telling everybody, I was hoping that I could ride that tiger a little bit and not have that happen, but it totally happened.
Yeah, dude, same.
I had no influence on it. I didn't make it slow down in any way.
Oh yeah, no.
All of my plans and smart, you know, predictions.
Yeah. Yeah, I've loved like just eating my own words so much in the past month. Like we spent so much time, you know. I was so lucky to be in the position I was through the worst parts of the pandemic. And so a luxury I had a lot of times was sitting with other people in a similar position to me and getting to have those heady conversations about like what was going to happen next and what to prepare for and like what I was personally going to do to, you know, readjust to whatever or expect new things. And then, I mean, exactly like you said, like as things have started to present themselves, I realized that like, I think the partially why I've been going through this kind of like internal phase is like, it just put me on my ass. Like I had no, you know what I mean? I had no answers once there was actually a need for answers. It was really easy to talk about how life would be when life wasn't how it would be yet, you know? So to be here now, it's kicking my ass, and I'm exhausted, and it's crazy, and I love it. I guess this is how it used to feel routinely, but it's just so strange to have perspective on it. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. No, that's really my question. I do wonder I've always been skeptical of the whole work-life balance concept because, like, for example, my work really came alive. You know, my work really, I was on tour a lot before I had our first child. For maybe, I was on tour for like 10 years. Yeah. With bands before Diane and I had a baby. And yet my work kind of exploded in many, many ways only after we had the kid. And after Coco was born, I was, way more busy with life than I had been before. And yet work blew up too. So the work-life balance, like, I guess it became more, I noticed it in a way more, but they both kind of expanded and transformed at the same time. And I feel like that whole work-life balance, I guess maybe it's more, I feel like even artists suffer and wonder about how to fix it. Sure. And I just think for an artist, it's really hard to put fences or guardrails around the art and say, well, to achieve balance, I need to limit my engagement with my art by X. I feel like that's just not how it operates. Yeah, even. Man. So you kind of can't. That's not really an option, I don't think. But I say this from, like, we had a kid who was very ill for a long time, and it was very busy. Everything about that kid. I've had 2 daughters, and one is neurotypical, and that's our second daughter basically taught herself to do everything. We didn't have to do anything. It was insane how easy it was to collaborate with someone who was literally teaching themselves how to tie their shoes, and stuff like that. Yeah,
I can't imagine. Wow.
I don't know. I feel like I don't know. I guess I don't have any way to figure out whether this current frantic pace is the rest of our lives, or if we're settle down.
Yeah. I in a lot of ways, I kind of am, maybe not even deep down. I think I'm okay with admitting that I'm enjoying. I'm in a lucky position to say that, but I'm kind of enjoying how gigantic everything feels, because I feel like my favorite chapters of my relationships with music were in high school or early college, or like when I was first starting to realize that life was probably going to be a pattern of things that I didn't understand that felt gigantic and felt like they would never go away, but then they did. So, but kind of. I'm still wearing sweatpants and hoodies like 5 out of 7 days a week, but yeah,
constant. Some things.
Yeah, exactly.
What are you What are you working on these days? What are your schemes? Dude, what are your schemes look?
A lot of future stuff. A lot of touring mostly. We've just been like filling the books with dates, which I am so excited about and so thankful for. So I mean, I wrote a lot over the summer. A lot of experimenting, and like I'm it's a fun chapter because I'm feel like far enough removed from stuff I was writing at the beginning of 2020, to be able to look back and actually know how I feel about it, and not like falsely.
Are you digging it?
Oh no. A lot of it is really it's kind of just like shitty.
Garbage.
Yeah, it's trash, man. It's
wow. Congratulations.
Thank you. But I've compiled a lot of the shittier ones into a side project band called the $500,000, and I'm really stoked to work on that. How have you felt about stuff that you were writing in the midst of everything being at like peak chaos?
Like during the lockdown, during the bad winter.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why, but I entered into 2020 very connected with my songwriting self, very connected with music.
Yeah.
And 18 and 19, I felt like I was sort of on an upswing of interest and inspiration, where I was really digging the exploration of music, So,
totally.
So leading into the lockdown and the anxiety of all that, and then the rest of 2020, I felt very connected with my muse, I guess you would say. And when the lockdown happened, I felt very, it was not like I was very, very bothered. I was very anxious. Really, really put all my, I say this without, it's not a jest. It put all my therapy, to work. And it was, for many, most people, I think had to proactively seek peace, and it wasn't easy to find at all.
Sure.
But despite that personal side, I was still, my music side was just like ringing like a bell. And I wrote a whole bunch of songs during that period. Some of them had to do with, the events of the time.
Sure.
I had maybe some of the things that went on that I think were the most significant things, like, because I'm from Minneapolis,
Right.
I found the presence of my hometown in the headlines because of George Floyd and events, before that, police murders before that, and
Right.
all those things. I found that very, very personally affecting. I felt like I really had to re-examine my kind of certain delusions that I had about my people, my hometown people. And that was, many, many, many people went through a similar reckoning, I feel like, and it's obviously not something that's over or dealt with at all. But that stuff did not that kind of set me aside for a while, and I didn't really think, I better write a whole bunch of songs about Black Lives Matter. I like a lot of people, I think I just said, okay, I'm going to take a breath and do other things, and not just, express my joys and sadnesses in my songs for a bit.
Sure.
But that was the summer, I suppose. And by the time winter in LA came around and things were, pretty scary pandemic wise, I was weirdly back into like lots of songs and a certain kind of crazy hopefulness in the songs that I didn't really quite understand. And
Totally.
And so coming out of the lockdown, whether we're out of the pandemic, but coming out of the lockdown, I feel like during that whole stretch, I felt very, very connected with my muse, and that continues. How to deal with art and the dismay of human culture and practices. How to deal with wishing that we could make more progress in social justice. Those are things I haven't, really figured out how to do, because it's just so, huge. But
sure, I totally understand. Yeah, I've had a lot of conversations with friends about this exact conversation, and I think the biggest thing that I stepped out of that period of time with, as far as like newfound knowledge in relation to like the power of writing a song, was just essentially like recognizing just the opportunity that comes with having a voice and having having a muse and having a draw to express emotions and to express experiences, and the power that comes along with that, requiring restraint at times and requiring reflection. And I think the most valuable thing I luckily learned, the most valuable lesson I think that could have been gleaned from that time was to just make sure that an experience I was having or a feeling I was having was universal enough to matter to share, just because of like how giant the scope of suffering in the world was exposed to a lot of people like me who were unaware of how bad things were, particularly at those peak moments in places like Minneapolis. And so it's totally changed my relationship with inserting feelings and expressing sadnesses and joys in songs, and really making me run it through a guise of what feelings deserve to be classified as like ultimately human feelings, you know what I mean? And just moving forward with that sort of understanding of the power of writing a song, I think will like put art in a really beautiful place. And I feel like if you were even like a relatively attentive, creative person in that time, it'd be really hard to not have learned something along those lines. You know what I mean? And to carry that even subconsciously, that like your awareness of what you're saying has to be out of respect for writing music and out of respect for humans, has to be there just in general. You know what I mean?
And just a constant reminder of that it's a lucky break to be able to be an artist of any kind. And secondly, and people work hard and earn it, but in a way it's a lucky break to do that. And it's a incredibly lucky break to have an audience of any kind that cares about what you do. And
totally.
It's something to be kind of reverent about, and like,
yeah, that's a great word. Understand
your good fortune.
Totally.
And not take it for granted and think that you were entitled to it. Like,
no,
that you're awesome, your inherent awesomeness.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yet another example of being just, yeah, I don't know. I feel lucky to have been reminded of that. I think that's a lucky break in itself.
Yeah, I agree. It's funny because I feel like there's this book called The Gift by Lewis Hyde. Did we talk about it ever?
I think we talked about a bunch of books the last time we hung out.
Talked about a lot of books. The Gift by Lewis Hyde is about how art doesn't work like an exchange the way buying a pair of shoes is an exchange. Certain you give money to the person, they give you shoes. Art is like an offering that artists make and people make. Just you don't have to be an artist, or people are artists if they make art, basically.
Right.
But art offering that a person makes to the world and to people, possibly people that they'll never meet, possibly just their friends. But the art is an offering, and it's given as a gift, and there's no real. You can never take for granted that there'll be an exchange like shoes for money. You can't
Totally.
assume that. You have to proactively think of it as like, I'm giving this idea to people, and at some point, maybe someone's going to reward me in some possibly completely unrelated way for some other thing that I did. And I got to count that as like, that's as close as it gets. It's more like, it's like that movie, which I never watched, but the title is Pay It Forward. And I feel like that's kind of the essence of being an artist. You're trying to give people something that's going to enhance their life, like a gift. And
sure.
And the proof is there in the pudding. If it doesn't enhance their life like a gift, then the conversation is over. We don't have to discuss. Like there's no trying to make something beautiful and enhance people's lives with it and blow their minds with it. If it doesn't enhance their lives or blow their minds, it's not a crime. You haven't done a bad thing. It just didn't work that time.
Right.
It just didn't work. So it's like, there's no holding people accountable to make better art. You can't say, well, next time you better do better. That's a thing you're free of because of this whole nature of the thing. It's just something you're trying to give people.
Yeah, that's so wild, man. I think that relates to maybe a little bit what we were talking about earlier, just like the merging of the creative brain and just the life brain, and how it seems in my astute observations over the many years that there's a lot of it seems like those things connect. I know this is so cliche, but when least expected, and when the balance between life and creativity is present but thin, and you're not distinctly trying to do one or the other. You're not distinctly taking a step back from creating something, but you're also not opposed to the idea of it happening.
Right.
To do that genuinely is really, I think, impossible. It's so hard. It seems to be able to be okay with it not blowing people's minds. I struggle with that so much. Like I've become really good.
Because you want really badly for it to blow people's minds. You really want, like,
I would love to make things. Yeah.
I want people to be like extremely moved and feel like their day is better because of what I've done. I like that thought.
Yeah, I like that thought too. And then where I have to check my ego is I like the thought of doing that, but also being the guy who's like, oh man, it was like 15 minutes, it just happened. Like, that's my dream. I want to be the guy that's like, oh dude, I was just cooking dinner and it just happened, like, and that's, so I struggle a lot with telling myself repeatedly that I don't care. thinking that eventually I won't, just because I'm telling myself that I won't,
Right.
as opposed to like coming to terms with.
When it's really rolling though, like tell me if maybe you don't agree with me, but I feel like those questions of like ego and wanting to be legit or wanting to be like, to have some sort of mastery or be awesome, whatever the word is, those moments fade pretty completely out of sight when the music is happening, when it's like really, really happening. And when
totally. Yeah.
And when you're just on the hunt of a great idea and you feel like it's just around the corner and you're so, like excited and interested about it, and you can just almost taste it, that at those moments, your desire for glory and to be awesome and thought of as dope or whatever are like gone.
Yeah.
It's not even, it's just, there's no you. You're not even there.
No,
you're gone.
There's no words in general.
Nobody's home. It's just,
right.
It's happening. No. And I think that's like one thing about that is like, that's the secret kind of dopamine fucking, that we get to have.
Yeah.
I suppose people get it when they're golfing or, making a really great quilt or something. I think that probably people get it in different zones of life. But I think that's you can apologize all you want about your ego and wishing that you were glorious. And I mean, I'm not saying you, but like an artist, we can like feel kind of abashed about our desire to be thought of as like the dopest or whatever.
Right.
But when you're really in, on the case, you're entirely forgotten about all those dreams of glory, and it's all you're just chasing down the idea and trying to run it to ground and make it work.
God,
that's powerful.
Yeah, it's like you're struck by lightning. Like it's all so like language and everything you've ever known do not apply in those moments where you're like on to something.
Right.
Like, man, and it's so wild how one experience like that can really propel you to continue to do this until it happens again, whether it be, I feel like I've had like that feeling that you're describing. Like, I don't think I've had that more than a handful of times in my entire career of doing this. And it's a strange thing that I feel like we all kind of accept that and are okay with the pursuit of it because it's so beautiful when it does connect and you feel so.
It's like having someone in high school that you were madly in love with, and it was never going to happen, and they you know what I mean. It's like something really mournful about
yes.
Sort of realizing, oh, I might have this crazy feeling of losing myself utterly in music. What if just like 8 more times in my life?
If you're lucky.
If you're lucky, right? There's something kind of sad about it.
God, it's so pathetic. I love it. Yeah, I love thinking about this for like 30 minutes and realizing that I'm like such a fucking sucker, dude. Like, like just
how have you structured your whole life around the pursuit of this very, very brief and hard to find,
also like brief, hard to find, and like basically made up, like, you know what I mean? Like that, I think is, I just had a talk with a friend, been having a lot of great talks lately, I'm realizing in this conversation, but just about how funny it is, just human nature has just relied so much on made up things and just fabricated things. And we were talking about capitalism, which I'm learning a lot about right now, and so that was kind of the root of that conversation. But like just in general, just how quickly we are down to just believe in things, like money was the conversation that we were having, you know, just probably at some point currency was not something that people really valued because it didn't matter to whatever needed to be met at a certain point in human history. And I think music is really fascinating that it's been a really consistent thing that we have placed value on. And I think now it truly, like another cliche, is the only thing that I can really, one of the few things that I can really like place that sort of sacredness on, in regards to like it being something that is inexplicably powerful.
Yeah.
I mean, that's invaluable. Like that is what being a person is about to me.
I wonder about, like, yeah, I completely dig that, and I think, but I wonder, like, if you and your friend talking about money, I wonder if there's a missing element of that, because this is me going off on a limb, and forgive me, but
cool.
Like, you know that like pigeons, if you put like if they've got a nest of eggs and they've got like 5 eggs,
right,
and you cover up the nest with a cloth and you take one egg away and you pick the cloth back up, they get super agitated,
right,
because they can count. Animals can count, and you know, if they had like 7 eggs in their nest and you added one, they'd freak out.
Right.
they what the hell, you know, they
right.
And animals can count, you know, and so counting is actually kind of a mammal thing, the way hearing resonances, and you know, like when dogs hear music and they're like, oh, you know, there's a mammal relationship with resonance that, you know, it predates us. We ain't the first, you know. And so I feel like one of the weird things about money is that people are like, it's totally artificial and blah blah blah.
Sure.
But it is the way that most people have to engage in that mammal thing of counting.
God.
And I'm not being a dick right now,
but
I
think
think
that's fucking cool. That's crazy.
For a mathematician, you get to do it in the abstract,
right?
You know, and if you're a musician, you get to make music in the abstract. You don't have to just be in a choir and sing, you know, with a bunch of people from your community.
Sure.
You can actually do it on a meta level. But most people, just sort of typical normal people, their way of making music or singing is take me out to the ball game or church, whatever.
Right.
And most people, their way to do the mammal fascination of counting, the kind of the animal enjoyment of counting is be greedy.
Wow. What the fuck?
I feel I really feel like that's like when people are like, you know, money is like it's artificially, you know, it's just, why do you think Vegas is so
right
popular? It's not pure greed. It's like that itch to count and figure and cipher and kind of do
you think that
math.
That ownership and feeling like you have control and over something with value plays into any part in that? Like, do you think a pigeon is like has pride in how many eggs are in the nest?
Yeah, and also like, you know,
we got to get a pigeon in here.
You got to ask. I mean, I feel like I'm misrepresenting a pigeon to talk like this without really, you know. But I do think like think about, you know, like a dog, you know, and they have some chewy toy that's like just disgusting and has been chewed on for like 4 years.
It's a pride and joy.
Like they're super greedy about it. They don't want you to fuck with that. Maybe you can't take it away, and
wow,
they want where it is. If it's missing, they're like, what? They're looking all over the place. That, you know, ownership and capitalism and greed and money are good manifestations of the human urge to count. I just think it's sort of I think it's sort of, there's something in it that's like it's no wonder that it's so fascinating to people.
Yeah,
it's,
man.
I would much rather everyone just, pick up an instrument and play music and sing.
Yeah, that would be ideal.
Capitalists, but.
Sure. But wow, that opened my mind a lot by way of pigeon.
The pigeon has so much to teach us.
Yeah. I honestly, if I could go, when like, I feel like that's a classic like interview, like a Rolling Stone question is like, if you could have dinner with one person living or dead, who would it be? I would do it with a pigeon. I would have dinner.
Talking, obviously.
No pressure on this pigeon to speak. I just want the company, honestly. I tell you what, if I could have one of those kind of fantastical things, I would ask to have a non-fatal dinner with an alien. Whoa.
I don't want to be eaten by an alien at dinner or murdered or
I think they have manners.
Carelessly evaporated by an alien, but
sure.
I would love to have a dinner with an alien. I probably would like throw up the whole time. Wow. Probably, like being an actual alien would probably just be so.
Do you have?
But if it was ayahuasca, I'd be like, "Whoa, that was incredible!"
Right? Yeah. Do you have an idea? Like when you think of an alien, do you see green person with big head and big eyes and little fingers?
No, but I'm currently reading this book. It's not here, but I was going to show you. It's called At the Mountains of Madness and one of his alien creatures is a kind of a flexible liquid mass called a shuggoth.
Wow.
That can be that can temporarily develop organs and kind of lift things and be very useful in the building of buildings and stuff. But anyway, so if the shuggoth is the way aliens are, then they might be actually look like a kind of a pool of bubbly slime.
That seems more on the nose to me. I feel like that makes a lot more sense in my head than Little Green Man. Yeah.
If it's a chair at dinner would work perfectly well. Like you would have a table and chair. Green Man has a butt and they sit on the chair. Right. But if it's kind of an undersea, these shuggoths also mostly live undersea. Yeah. Of course. Take the form of deer under the water because they hang together. God. But they're just like slime. So, but you have dinner and you try to put them in a chair. It's
yeah. Wow, I love the idea. Sorry, E.T., but we're crazy to think that like if a UFO crash lands, like we're gonna be able to like offer these suckers anything. Like they're not gonna. The rule.
Well, at the sea.
Yeah.
We don't have.
We don't do that at my house. There's no butts at my house. I'm holding out hope. There was a minute where all that stuff was surfacing, all those documents, the like NASA documents were coming out. Did you know about that?
Kept seeing it, but because I think of the by far the lion's share of stuff on the internet is stupid. I didn't.
And true.
But I was briefly intrigued, and then but my natural kind of skepticism also the design of the websites which you're linked to is so frustrating. I want if ever someone had some conspiracy theory and I clicked on it and it linked to a beautifully designed website that didn't force you to click through 100 for each paragraph, I would believe that conspiracy.
Totally.
Overall.
Yeah, no, and if there was a source that was like undeniably the truth too, and it was like a janky link that was like you had to like download some second party app, I'd be like, fuck
what
it.
if that was
That's totally what it's going to be like. Aliens are going to drop off a bunch of like USB drives and people are going to be like, I don't want to have to do this again. I'm sick of this shit, man.
Do you really think the truth is going to get packaged in poorly designed, Flash, like,
Yes.
or whatever it is, Java?
I think it's going to come. Yeah, we're going to have to dial it up and it's going to come through.
Really?
It's going to come through like a Nintendo 64 cartridge, I think.
Well, wait a minute. Now we're talking.
That would be, wow.
Seems utterly hopeful. Actually.
I think subconsciously that was like a fantasy of mine. That would be really cool.
Exactly.
Are you
something actually?
What do you
something
say?
Not.
Yeah.
That is a janky thing you just mentioned.
Yeah. Oh, a floppy disk. I feel like that's what we're maybe like working our way up to. Yeah, that's the shit, man.
Such a bummer.
Are you like a technology person at all? Like, are you interested, or like, do you like video games and computers and things like that?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, all that. I didn't have a gaming. I missed almost all non-music entertainments. I missed all the movies, and I missed all the TV shows, and I missed all the video games, and I missed all the first-person shooters, and I missed all the Olympic games and everything. I missed it all because I was just but I heard all the music.
Yeah. Was that like, do you turn, I've found myself like, I felt the same way growing up. I never enjoyed, I'd always get anxious when I would play video games or go watch friends play video games. I felt like we were just idle and I didn't like that. But now, like, one of my favorite things that I've been doing, and like in between sitting in my room and writing and recording a bunch of stuff, is like I took my old PlayStation from my parents' house when I moved back to Nashville from their place, and like I'll go play some like Major League Baseball game and like listen to music while I do it, and just like flow state, dude. It's crazy. Like, I have never been that at peace. So it's become this like really great release. Like, do you find release in interest in that stuff now, or like movies or anything in that realm?
It's funny you should mention that the combination, because one thing I've been doing for maybe 10 years is watching sci-fi with the sound turned off.
Yeah, man.
And the guitar.
Yes.
And it's really, really transcendent sometimes. And there's something about, it's like watching, it'd be sort of like watching fireworks and singing a song to yourself, because your visual processing is completely occupied and completely like offline, essentially, because it's just being occupied by the sci-fi.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so awesome. Then
your music brain is like, can rule, like,
totally.
And it's, and I definitely enjoy that. And I don't even think of it as like, oh, it's this great technique to be dope or anything like that. I really think it's more like,
no, it's so fun.
It's a way to enjoy music and visual artistry at the same time. That's just very, it's like a perfect combination to me. It's really nice.
Totally. Yeah. I love like writing under the guise of like, what show would this be the theme song for? Or like, what movie would this be like the closing credit song for? I literally did the same thing, not on purpose, the other day. I like had my laptop set up in the living room, tracking a little demo, and I'm working my way back through BoJack Horseman right now for like the third time. And I like subconsciously was like, I just muted it because I just wanted something on, and then found myself like watching the title sequence and being like, oh, I'm straight up trying to like write what I think would be the theme song to this show. And like, it was so fun. I felt like I was 12. It felt like a school assignment that I actually begrudgingly like really enjoyed, you know, like,
I mean, that, you know, I've rarely done things to picture, but I can imagine it being a really fun kind of puzzle to solve.
Yeah.
You know, and also kind of inspirational prompt, you know? Yeah.
Do you enjoy watching movies just in general?
Yeah, I think I do. I don't suspend disbelief at all. So even the movie, I completely believe all the characters are real. It's really weird. And so I even the cheesiest or most farcical or most satirical movie, if the characters are in peril, I feel like completely personally in peril at the same time, or empathetically in. Yeah. And I cannot disengage that belief for some reason. And I know I have lots of friends who can watch very violent movies and be like, "Oh, come on, it's not real. It's, you know, it's obviously fake." And like, I don't even need it to be convincing for me to believe that it's happening. It can actually be poorly done and you know, cheesy and clunky, and I'm still like, you know, bummed. Yeah. So certain types of themes, like cruelty and torture and mayhem and vindictiveness and you know, like, much as I would like to, like, I would love for someone to just edit all of the Sopranos together into just a long movie that's all Dr. Melfi and Tony talking. Just conversation, yeah. And what's Carmela? Is that his wife? Carmela and Tony talking. Right. I'd love to just like the entire series melted down to those conversations and not have anybody be murdered or you know, washed or whatever. Man, that's so interesting. Yeah, I have similar feelings. Like I had a major shift with that. Like I used to love horror movies. Like I found so much. I was one of those people that like, it sounded like I was lying, but like genuinely I would like put them on before I went to bed. Like, it was like comforting. I think I liked knowing that it was going to end and then I was in control, maybe like one of those weird subconscious things. But now it's like, yeah, I think the reality aspect of it is jarring to me. Like, I can't separate it. And like, dude, I think even more so than horror movies, like kids movies, like children's, like Pixar movies particularly. I think the reason I have bouts of really deep sadness is because of fucking Brother Bear. I don't know if you ever saw that movie, but I've seen bits of it on television. If you ever get to a point where you need like a spiritual shake, hop in. Brother Bear. What's going to give it to me? Brother Bear. Yeah. It's just let me know. I'll send you my VHS copy. And it's soaked in tears. It's heavy, man. Some children's TV, because I've had like, I've had various ages of children in the house, and there's currently a baby that's here a lot, and so I end up watching shows that are good for a 2-year-old once in a while, and nothing wrong with that. No, except when I hear the music in those shows, I actually feel personally attacked and assaulted by it. Yeah. And I feel like the aesthetic is an actual violent affront to myself. Yeah, I understand. I need to get more forgiving. Do you have to like step out of the room? 2-year-olds. I don't know, man. I think 2 is an age that you can have a conversation as to why that theme needed a dissonant chord in there. I think that a lot of kids are open to that kind of thing. Yeah, the rage of 2 is kind of resonant. Yeah, totally. That's really helpful at that age.
yeah, I like, I'm a huge cartoon person just in general. Like I loved, I have like a Charlie Brown tattoo, and my family grew up like huge Calvin and Hobbes fans, and like I've always found peace in those things designed for a younger audience. And I have a lot of younger siblings, and I it's just crazy the effect that stuff has on me still to this day. Like, yeah, whether it's like you were just saying, like annoyance, or like, I mean, those things will move me as much as a Spielberg movie, like, you know, some like acclaimed movie that's supposed to tell, that has every aspect of what a great film is. Like, yeah.
Well, Calvin and Hobbes is like, that's up there with the best of the best, whatever.
Oh yeah, that's some of my favorite art in the world.
It's so kinetic, and I don't know if it was ever even adapted for animation. It feels like it's the most kinetic, physical, action-packed. I mean, it's interesting that like Peanuts is very static and everybody's just in profile or frontal, and the characters kind of slide on and off the screen, you know, but
totally.
And it's such a contrast with the absurdly dynamic sense of physical motion of the Calvin and Hobbes stuff.
Oh yeah,
like
man,
crazy.
Like you're literally going through different galaxies.
Right. Or like taking a bobsled ride that's like,
yeah, those are the best.
Terrifying and exciting.
Yeah. You can, if you're like describing it to someone, you would describe it like you would describe a movie. Like you would, it's so scene by scene. I mean, like you just said, it's animated in your mind when you recall it.
Right.
Like,
right. The movement is, it's as though you saw it moving in your memory, even though that's not the way it went in. That's crazy. That guy is like,
oh yeah,
he's the best.
Did he do other things, or was that really his like most of his career?
No, and then he spent a bunch of time saying no. Like, I don't know what he does now, but he basically was like, cool. No, you can't make a Garfield movie out of it, and no, I'm not going to license the characters, and no, you can't, you can't use it at Magic Mountain, and no, Disney, you can't have it.
Wow.
He just spent the rest of his time saying no.
What do you
ruin this amazing thing that happened to me.
Yeah, I think that he has a lot of merit in that decision. Just put out a really badass 3-book box set and be like, this is it.
And the rest is no.
Yeah.
You can't. I will not sell this to you for your, poor decisions and bad judgment. And
this doesn't need to be a theme park. Yeah.
Yeah. Need it. It doesn't need it.
It's true. It's like a 1 out of 5 million like ratio of things that are adapted to theme park that like go well. Like it makes sense why.
So he knew that. I feel like something about that. I mean, not to be pretentious, but I feel like you probably experience this too. Like, I feel like if I'm writing a song and I have a great idea and it's like, this is fucking good, then there is a part of me that then has to shift into like, in a way, I owe it to the idea to like make the most of it, or I have to find a way to record this really well because I owe it to the idea. I got to try to kill the recording because I owe it to the idea for it to be good.
Totally.
And suddenly you have this responsibility to the idea that didn't exist before you thought of the idea. And I feel like it's that way with like someone like Calvin and Hobbes, or, like to him, like a lot of his saying no is that he owed it to the idea to make sure that it didn't get adapted in a stupid way or like made into something bad.
Yeah, that's so cool. I'm sure that's exhausting though too, to like, and what comes along with being a guy saying no probably was not easy for people to like assume that he was just a dick or that he didn't want to share success or something like that. But it's like,
or to have the exchange or experience be repeated over and over again.
Right.
I'm sure it was so tedious.
Yeah, man.
You know?
God, that's so interesting. Yeah, that's so
I
interesting.
would.
What do you say?
Anybody who digs Calvin and Hobbes it's got the right sort of crosshairs, I think.
Agreed. Yeah, it's a really quick way to know who out of a group of people is going to be like who you want to sit with at lunch. I feel that way about a lot of like, maybe that's why I've kept in touch with like, I mean, I'm looking at like I have a bunch of Shel Silverstein books too, and like I've always kept that stuff really close to what I identify with creatively. I think maybe out of defense or out of like having that ready to share to explain a part of me. Like it's really crazy how that stuff is really like you said. I mean, you can tell somebody that you like that, and someone can get a really good idea of you.
But Shel Silverstein also something about those art forms that are the most minimal, like that take the least hardware.
Yeah.
You know, if it's writing a poem, that's the least hardware of all. If someone writes a great poem and it works and it moves you, that's the ultimate close-up magic. You know, that's the party trick of all time.
Sure.
To write a poem, and then anything up from that, like even to be Bill Waterston, is that his name? The Calvin and Hobbes guy.
I think so. Yeah.
You have a brush with good ink and a nice piece of paper. That's all. Nothing more.
Right.
It's still pretty like primitive, and you know, and so it's still like it reminds me of people who can do a good card trick. It's like like the minimal tools to blow your mind. You know.
Totally. It doesn't take much card trick wise to make me lose my shit. I go crazy over that stuff.
I'm the most amazed of all audiences. I'm like, no, what?
Yeah, absolutely. If I had like all of the money brought back to me in a box that I have like given magicians just to get that little rush, like I would be able to.
I think you could work on a trick that does that. You could give, like, I don't know how they do it, but you could go around the world giving money to magicians, but it's all on like little threads or something that like it comes back to you. You could
get the magician.
Some special day you'd be at your house and you'd be like, okay, just about now, and like all these bills are coming.
God, I love the idea. I love a long form revenge prank, especially against a union of magicians. That's such bullshit. I love that so much. Oh, that's so good. Oh, because they're not doing anything wrong, man.
No. Cruelty. They're just trying to make a living on the street.
Truly. Yeah. One of the bigger tiffs my girlfriend and I have ever gotten in was one time we were in Knoxville, and we'd been out on like the little market square there for the day and just like had lunch, and she wasn't feeling well and she wanted to go home so badly, and we were like almost back to the car, and this guy came up and like took the hat off and pulled out a deck of cards and was like, do you have a moment for a trick? And she didn't say anything and left me with the opportunity to say yes or no. And I looked at him and then I looked at her and I said, I think we have to do this. And so she like stood there miserable for like 30 minutes while this guy...
I trusted you.
Yeah. Like, you fucked up.
Bullshit, yeah.
Yeah, I just gave you the opportunity not to do this and you fucking did it. Yeah, man. God, it's so good to talk to you, man. It's been so long.
Wow. Yeah, so nice to talk to you. I've enjoyed your music that's come out since you and I first hung out. You're doing great stuff. It's
Thanks,
really,
man.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Thank you. I was so excited that we got to track that song and that it was on the record and stuff. That was my favorite of the music videos that we got to do as well.
That music video is hilarious.
Dude, thank you.
so it's like, it literally is like one what the fuck moment after the other. And I really appreciate it. I was like,
Oh, okay. Well, thanks, man.
I really loved it.
That's so sick. Yeah, I think it was easy to have fun with that one just because it was. I mean, you and I writing it, there was just a lot of laughter and there was a lot of levity. In the song, and like, I was worried, just like about capturing that song the right way, just with the other with the batch of songs that it was with, just like it was a bit held a tough place in my mind, just as far as like I didn't know if the record was a place for like a driving acoustic, borderline Americana sort of song, or like if we needed to like overproduce to make it sound, like something unique. But I think it just came down to like really, I'm just like, I love that song as it is. And then John, do you know John Congleton? Have you guys ever crossed paths?
We've exchanged emails. We've sort of had some good musical experiences at a distance, but we've never hung out. And actually during the lockdown here in California, John and I exchanged a couple of messages basically saying, okay, when all this shit's over, we have to have a drink or something, or do something, or hang out.
Yeah, man. Yeah. You guys would like shoot the shit really well. I think you guys have like really similar minds. But he's so great. I think you guys would really get along. That's so cool.
He's got a magical sense of tone. I feel like
totally
there's like the mid-range of what he does that's like actually full of meaning and emotion. Even before the words begin, you already feel the emotion and the meaning, and I feel like somehow it's in there. Oh, I don't know how he does it.
Totally, dude. I think he's so good at like kind of knocking the wind out of like a lot of pretentiousness as well. Like in a lot of like people coming in, and like I felt like in the process with him, I was doing so much like big quotes soul searching, like trying to figure out like who I was for this record and like what statement this record was going to make about me. And he was like, just really forward a lot of times about like, hey, you seem to be this, but it also seems like you're not these things. And like, I don't know why you would want to be those things. Like these other things you are really cool. Like, and which is really like supportive by way of like, crossing off like, well, you're not this. Like,
don't try that. Yeah. Don't waste your time with that other thing.
Totally. Really But the reason I even brought him up is when we were working on that song, he just like totally out of left field was like, dude, this sounds like a song off Mind Games. And I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And then showed me that it was like a Lennon record that I'd never heard that record before. And he like showed me a bunch of stuff off of that album, and like it blew my mind. I'd never heard anything like it. So I loved how like dramatic that stuff sounded paired with like me. So
now I'm going to go back to that tonight and listen because
it's so cool.
I'm going to make the connection. That's a really interesting reference, and I want to make the connection. And plus, I haven't listened to that Lennon record for a long time, so that would be pretty fun.
It's badass, dude. It's like so. I feel like it's a record I would have heard. Like if I had heard that when I was younger, I would have been like, okay, this guy's some like, he's up in the clouds, like poet, whatever the hell is going on in his head, like it's not something I get. But like listening to it now, it's like borderline funny how melodramatic it is. It's really cool.
I get it.
Yeah. He taught me a lot about humor as well, which was like, really important lesson that I learned through this whole process.
I don't know. I think you understood it already beforehand.
Hey, come on! You don't have to turn my cheeks red, pal.
Briston, it's been nice to talk to you. I'm glad we hooked up. The comedy of it, notwithstanding of the calendar, I'm happy got a chance to do this.
It happened. We
Yeah,
did
it
it.
happened.
Yeah,
It
man.
really-
Yeah.
that was fun.
And we recorded it so we can prove it to people.
We recorded, and I actually just been checking. Let's see, and I recorded it all too here. So,
Hell
although
yeah.
probably the recording of like my elbow rubbing against the couch or something, but we'll see.
We've gotten a couple times where I've gotten my what's the word, stubble, like on the little thing. It's actually a great shaker sound. Here, I'll show you. I don't know if you can hear that, but really
That was
solid.
groovy. Super groovy.
Thanks, man. I'll send you that.
I'm stealing the idea.
No worries. Take it, man. It's not mine. Yeah, dude. Been a pleasure to talk.
Yeah, you too.
Hope to
You
keep
too.
in touch. I'm coming out a few times in the next couple months, so I'll give you a shout, and if you're around,
Yeah.
would love to say hey.
Well, that's cool, and I'm looking forward to hearing your, as this project like starts to unfold. I'm really looking forward to hearing what you do.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I don't know if you are a person who enjoys being sent shitty demos, but I can, if you ever have capacity to do that, I could shoot you some demos.
Definitely, I like the demos.
Cool.
I like demos.
Sweet, man.
Yeah.
I'll shoot you some
me up.
stuff. Yeah.
Cool.
All right, dude. Great to talk
All
to
right,
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, man.
See you next time.
Have a great night.
Too.
All right, y'all. That was Dan Wilson on the Bottle Rocket Company pod. I think I said I was going to change the name to the Bottle Rocket Butt Company. After this episode, I feel a lot less obligated to do that. Man, what a great conversation. What a special dude. Thank you guys for listening. New episodes coming out soon. Thanks for being a part of this. Really small, tight-knit crew right now, but I think that is really awesome. So thanks so much. We'll see you soon. Whatever. Who cares?